Now that you have the basics of working with objects in PHP, the next step is for us to take that and apply it to a real-world project. For that project, I've selected a photo gallery for us to design. And what I'm thinking of is websites like Flickr, for example, where you're able to display a lot of different photos online. People can view them, they can comment on them, that kind of thing. Of course, we're not going to be as full-featured as those kinds of sites, but this would be something that you could potentially showcase your own photographs to friends and family and continue to improve it till it did have a lot more features. So the way I'm thinking about this project is that there'll be two parts. There'll be a public side and a private side. The public side will be available to our site visitors. The admin side will require a password for people to get in. The public side will have an overview of all the images in the gallery, and if we have more than, let's say, 10 or 20 images on a page, we want to have pagination, which would mean that we would have a link that says next, and that would let us get the next 10 or 20 images. So that's called pagination, and we'll be seeing how to do that. And then, of course, if you click on any of the images, you would get a full-size image view, and we're going to let our site visitors comment on our photos as well. So there'll be a simple web form where they can post comments about the photographs. In the admin area, of course, we're going to need to have a login area and that functionality. We saw how to do that in the essential training. We'll look at that again from an object-oriented perspective and create admin users so that we have users who can log in. The ability to upload images, that's how we'll get our photographs in there, and of course delete images, and then we'll also want to be able to review and delete comments as well. So that's an overview of sort of the main functionality that I have in mind. We might add a few other features as we're going through, but that'll be the core of our photo gallery. Now let's think about it from an object-oriented perspective. What objects are we going to be needing inside of this project? A good rule of thumb is any database table that you have is going to have an object associated with it. So we know we're going to have users, we're going to have photographs, and we're going to have comments. So we're going to need 3 objects, one for each of those. And creating a new user would then let us ask it for its first name and last name, for example. Or for a comment, we could ask for its post time. That's all object-oriented. Now, what might not be as obvious to you are some of the other objects that we're going to be using. One is going to be database, and we're going to have a single object that's going to manage our connection to the database. And we'll talk about why that's a good idea. If you just think about it in abstract terms, it sort of makes sense that there's an object out there that's the database. We want to go to the database and get something. So think of it that way. It's an object. It's abstract because it's on our computer's hard drive. It's a piece of software, but it is an object that we're putting things in and out of. The same thing is true for session. We talked about how to use sessions in the essential training where we maintained the state of whether we were logged in or not. We'll be doing that with an object this time. And last of all, we're going to have an object that's going to manage pagination for us. Now that might not be as obvious as some of these other ones, but it will be helpful to have an object that can contain all of the knowledge about whether or not we have more pages, how many pages there are. We'll put that all into a single object. And by the end, you'll see why that's beneficial. Now, we may create some more objects along the way, but these are the core ones that we're really going to focus on. And to start with, I want us to focus on making our database connection. So we're going to start there.